Okay, we're recording. This is Martha Creek here. It is my pleasure to be here. I'm doing this podcast series of interviews to interview people that I am mentored by, that I am proud of, that I am collegial with, that I'm indebted to, that I'm blessed by. And I'm also have chosen people for this series that are absolutely essential, integral, and vital to New Thought as a movement and what's going on in the world. And my mission is to serve those who serve. And my vision is to get empowered teachings to the whole of humanity. So today's choice here, this colleague and friend and mentor and elder teacher of mine, we've been friends and colleagues for over 20 years now. Reverend Dr. Angelo Pizelo, who is the founder, dean, and head president of the Emerson Theological Institute, now Emerson Institute. And I was called to be in seminary since I was a child. I believed I was ordained by God at birth. So I believed that my ordination came with me in birth. And I decided at age 40, I would go get an official ordination. So I started looking at paths and looking at seminaries and processes and studies. And I kept getting an internal no, because I kept finding there was too rigid in their protocols and too rigid, and I felt like I was going to be graded and judged more on if I set my type right or used the right spacing than I was if I had an expanding consciousness. So then I was directed by grace and providence and New Thought leaders. Actually, at the time, I was working with Pioneers for Possibility. This is over 20 years ago. Some of the leaders in New Thought then that were heading that program, and they said, "You're a perfect candidate for Emerson." And I never had heard of it. So I got right on the phone and called out there. This was before Zoom and texting and all that. And Dr. Angelo Pizelo answered the doggone phone himself, which he'll talk about in a minute, how much he is intent on doing that, to have a direct relationship with students. And I told him of what I had in mind. And so far I had heard no, no, no. You must do this. You must do that. You must do this. You can't do that. So I had been ready and prepared for the obstacles that were going to be laid out before me. And instead, is what I got from Dr. Angelo was, yes, sure, of course, we'll find a way. And by golly, we found a way, and we've been finding a way ever since. And I get to serve with him now through various processes, through Emerson studies and accredited classes through Emerson, and friends enrolled in Emerson and the affiliated New Thought Network. So Dr. Angelo, I love you more than my luggage. I cannot help it. And for people that know me, they know that's the greatest love of all, because of how much I travel. And I'd like to start today with what that yes is about, why you're committed to being that first contact for Emerson Institute, and why you are, what that yes is about for you.
Okay, well, thank you. This is exciting. You lost your luggage, or you didn't want to lose it. You loved it. I did lose my luggage once when I was, but I won't get into that. It's a long time. Somebody broke in the hotel room and stole all my luggage, and I had to give a talk, and you'd be amazed. I didn't have suits or any of that. But anyway, that's a long story. That's something else. Anyway, my philosophy is that we have to become that which we want to experience and that which we want to teach. In other words, I need to be that caring, loving, yes, love energy that we call God, or whatever we want to call it. And so when we created Emerson years ago, we have a bank of phones. And I did this when I was a school superintendent as well. I had called it the open door policy. In other words, I tell the secretary, hey, listen, if my door is open, you know, the secretary is in this next office, my door is open, anyone can come in without an appointment. I don't care if it's a student, a parent, or a teacher. And it used to drive my secretary is absolutely crazy, but that's the way it was. And it's on Friday, I'll be in the classrooms. I'll be visiting classrooms, so I won't be there on Friday, but all the other days, yes. Anyway, that's called my open door policy. Well, I have an open door policy as far as the phone is concerned too. And so I tell my staff, we have a bank of phones, and if I'm in the office and the phone rings, I get the call. That's set in stone. It's been over 30 years now. And one day, this gal, can I talk about the yes idea?
Yes, that's what I want to hear.
One day, this gal called and he said, I've heard about Emerson, and I want to ask you some questions. I'm thinking maybe I want to affiliate with Emerson. It's a retired minister and who is starting a center as well. And she says, if I came to you with a wonderful idea that I wanted to try, some new program or new project, how many committees would I have to go through? Who would I have to talk to? And how long would it take to get it going? I said, well, it's once in a while when somebody does that, I'll call my vice president, either Bob Hand or Stella, and say, what do you think? Is this guy? But most of the time, what I do, I get out of my chair, I go into the bathroom, I look in the mirror and I say, what do you think? Do you think that's a good idea? And this guy, Angelo, always says yes. Anyway, she started laughing. Anyway, she became not only one of our wonderful senior ministers, but she started a church and was very successful. So anyway, the idea is that, and I tell my staff that we need to be that. There's a lot of things that we do, and you and I, Martha, talked about the other day, but you can't have the doing without the being. And the ministers we teach out of the chute, the first day of graduation, we teach the doing. That's what you have to do to be, and the doing is important. We have to do that. We're in this human drama, and so we have to do our thing in the physical. However, we also have to have that with the beingness. We have to be that which we think we are, which is a life form of the divine. So what that means is that Angelo is going to be that life form. And we always say God always says yes, and by gosh, he does, or she, or whatever you want to call God. Anyway, the answer is always yes. So that's what caused me to continue my open door policy. One of the school superintendent, I was also I was a minister and I was a practitioner. So that philosophy has been with me I celebrated my 50th year this year.
So who do you know that's been at this, serving a calling, serving a ministry, serving a profession as a vocation and an advocation for 50 years?
Are you asking me the question?
Yes.
Who do I know? Well, I look in the mirror and I see myself there.
Well,
but,
yes. Well, I'm believing that you're in a small lot of people that's had the uncommon stamina, Angie, the uncommon stamina for the vision that you had and the motivation to carry it out and to innovate the way you have and continue to, as we were talking just before we got on the recording here. One of our fellow colleagues in love affairs for both of us is Dr. Barbara Marks Hubbard. And she had a saying that she was getting newer and newer and newer all the time. And that's how I experience you, Angie, and the way that your mind works and the way that this yes has served you and the way it's served students that have callings to be ministers. And I believe, of course, that minister is a verb, not a noun.
Beautiful.
And that's what you're describing, and that you have provided a way innovatively, creatively, causatively, generatively, collaboratively, which is the highest use of the mind, a way to do this for ministers that simply could not fit in the protocols or the requirements of other organizations and other seminaries and other approaches. So you've served, I don't know how many. Do you have a number of how many people have come through there with Emerson?
No, if I start counting numbers, that gets me out of the realm of infinity, and that's a physical thing. No, we just want to be available. When we started this, we realized that the vast majority of the human species, they don't tap into, they don't use, and unfortunately, they leave the planet without ever discovering their spiritual potential. That was the guts of Emerson. When we came together as ministers and teachers, we said, what's our goal? What do we want to do? We've got a huge population out there that we have to deal with. It's going to take some time, and it's going to take a whole lot of us. So what are we going to do about it to change the conscious?
Yeah.
And that's when and I knew about Anton. It was just getting started. And we talked about that at the Anton meetings, is that consciousness is what? The sole authority, and love points the way. And that's consciousness. I've spent 16 years being trained by the Jesuits. So I had to be fluent in Latin. So the word conscious means to know with in the Latin, with, to know with. And we need to teach these people to know with the idea that they are a life form of the divine. They're eternal creative beings. They're awesome. They're
Well,
magnificent.
you must rest easy at night when you reflect and think about how you've taught people, led people, educated, developed, consulted, mentored all these years. And you may not be into numbers, but I distinctly remember hearing something like 10,000 people have come through there, 10,000 files, and people that from all walks of life with all sorts of callings have been blessed by this open door that you have there, and this solid foundation of educational opportunity that you have, Dr. Angelo. And I want to also ask you to speak about then, I personally believe that Emerson Institute is a place for anybody um, conscious with, wanting to know with or know from, to know more about their own divinity and their own nature, and to expand their consciousness, that Emerson has programs for that. So I want you to speak about that, that they don't have to run a church or be in a church or be affiliated with a church, or be even called to be a minister, that your programs are designed for all people, for all of humanity, and they're empowered teachings for all of humanity, regardless of their path or what they're believing. So there's something at Emerson for everybody. So speak a little bit about the factual nature of that.
I would love to, because we're open and receptive to the idea, and that's from the day one that we got together, is transcending the human consciousness that says I ain't worth it, or the human consciousness that's under the domain of the concepts that's physical, the dynamics of the physical relationships, the economy, the political, and all this stuff. I don't want to use bad words, but anyway, because you're recording me and you're going to probably do something with this recording, so I won't use the word that I want to use it. But anyway, the bottom line is that's who we are. So our ideas, and when I look around, we make this idea of spiritual growth and connecting to and being the message too complicated. It is not complicated. We don't need rules and regulations. Here are the 10 steps to reach God. No. And so what we're all about is let's not throw obstacles in the way. If somebody wants to have it, we have people coming forth saying, I just want to live a better life. I want to enhance my life. Awesome. You came to the right place. And generally what I'll do is I'll point myself as the mentor, because I like doing that. And so anyway, that's what I do. Anyway, so no, the idea is we have a human core concept, or they used to call it race consciousness. I don't like using the word race here, but it's in the human dynamics, the DNA that says, I'm under the domain of what's happening to me. I got to take it home to mommy and worry about it. I got to cry about it. And they don't realize how magnificent they are. There's an impulse when you connect, and I connected many years ago. When you connect with your true identity, there's an impulse to sunshine magnificence. I wake up every morning with answers to things that I haven't even asked the question yet. It's crazy. I woke up this morning like, oh my gosh, and just ideas of what I should be doing next, because I've got a couple of things that I'm working on. And the ideas were there. I didn't ask for help, but it's there because I'm one with this divine energy. And what we call that is it's kind of quantum physics in a way. My friend Bob should be talking about this part. He loves quantum physics. I don't enhance it, but I know about it. But anyway, it says we're energy sparks in a field of energy that's connected to everything there is. Isn't that awesome? Even the plants feel that energy. There's a lot of research going that even plants have the feelings, and I won't get into that. I know that's an intern thing, but So anyway, that's what it is. So no, we don't put obstacles in the way. Some of my some of other of the so-called New Thought centers, and they make you regurgitate. God, you have to regurgitate. And people come to them. Believe me, I came through one of them. But anyway, regurgitation. They come and they say, you know, I already took this class 4 years ago, and oh no, that's too long. You got to take it again. No, we're not going to regurgitate. In fact, we even believe, now this is not good, but I'm going to say it. When we give our testing, we're not trying to catch somebody who doesn't know something. That's nonsense. Mm-hmm. That's an opportunity for us to do some instruction. So we teach the darn test. You know, if somebody doesn't know the answer, or you get an F and you're out of here. No. We're going to do
something. I want to hear a little bit about what, from your perspective, what Emerson is offering people, humanity, and the world. What is it that Emerson has that's going to benefit people that will enroll in the programs?
Wonderful. In the state of California, Emerson has some certain rules on offering degrees. So what we had to do, and I've gone through this, I've gotten accreditation many times in the school system, but I thought, you know, I don't want an academic accreditation, because I figured it out with the number of students I'm going to have, because we have great, wonderful ideas, that it would be just the annual fee would be like 10, 15,000. That means I'd have to jack up all the prices and price people out of business. And I've got some other friends who are another who have to raise their prices and price people out. So we didn't do that. So what I did, I had to be owned, operated, and controlled by a church corporation. And that's the rules in California to offer religious degrees that are not academic necessarily. They're not science or that, but it's religion. So anyway, we formed the Positive Living Center of Central California. And then ultimately, my thought was that it would own, operate, and control the church. But then I thought, you know, we need a corporation that says Emerson. So Bob Hanna and I, we were coming from Tom Costa's church. I forgot where we were coming from, but we came up with this idea: we need a church without walls. If we're going to be owned, operated, and controlled by a church, it's going to be a church without walls. And so we conceived of the idea of the Emerson New Thought Center, Church Without Walls. And we created that corporation. Bob took all the paperwork and got it done for us. So what we're offering now, we are then, as far as California is concerned, we can offer the degrees in religious studies, spiritual studies, theology, but but they're not like, for our doctor, we can have a doctor of divinity, but the doctorate is not a PhD. And a lot of our graduates, they call themselves PhDs, but that's not correct. It's a religious, the PH stands for philosophy, the doctor of philosophy. That's an academic degree. We're not allowed to offer academic degrees, and that's cool, because we don't want to price people out of joining us where our classes cost $500. You know, it's just not going to work for us. We want to approach the person on the street who needs some help and need to enhance their life. So what our degree is, the religious, the degree that would be like the doctorate of religious studies would be an R, large R, small s, D, religious. See how that works? Religious studies degree, rather than philosophy, which is PH. And so that's what we created. So we offer the degrees. We also have what I call a double dip. And I love this part. This really is special. A lot of our people come to us, they don't focus on a degree, but they have all kinds of classes, but they want personal growth. And then they want to actually get their practitioner religious science credential. And I tell them, you know, we have a program here where while you're taking those requirements for the practitioner credential, you can also have them count simultaneously for a degree. So if they don't have a bachelor's, it can count towards a degree. It doesn't cost them a double whammy. It's a double dip. They get credit for both programs then. And so it's kind of cool. So when people come to us and they say, you know, I want to work on my practitioner, but I don't have a degree. Do I have to have a degree to do this? I say, no, you know, a degree, you know, we don't need that. However, if you want to have it count towards the degrees down the road, sure, we'll double dip it for you. It won't cost additional money for the fees, you know. So anyway, that's how that is. We offer the bachelor's of religious studies, Bachelor's of Spiritual Studies, they're pretty much all the same. We use the secular. To get the bachelor's degree, it takes 120 semester units of credit. Now, people say, well, what's a semester unit? Well, a semester unit is 15 hours of instruction. You see, 15 hours, that's a lot. If you take 120 and times that by 15, you're looking at the number of, number of hours. 15 times 128 is quite a bit of hours. However, we also accept a lot of stuff if you're working on that bachelor's towards that bachelor's degree. If you've been spending the last 10 years in hospice helping people, have wonderful end of the life experiences, we'll give you credit for that. If you've done anything in humanity, if you served on boards in spiritual studies, we've had people come to us who were aides in hospice. We had another gal who several years ago didn't lose a loved one, but her loved one moved on to a different plane of existence. But anyway, she was distressed, but she wanted to learn about that. How do I deal with this grief? And I said, well, let's take some classes and deal with that, which she did. And then she studied the grief, and she turned out to be counseling people who are in grief. Her very first day after we encouraged her, she had 8 people come and join her class. And she started working with grief counseling. Well, she got credit for that towards her bachelor's degree. You see? And so, it's not, we're just going to give you some credit. No, you earn it. You have to earn it. We had another person who worked as an aide in a women's prison. And she worked, and she was an artist. She's a local artist. And so we gave her credit for doing some of that work at a local prison. Well, that person became one of our ministers. She got her bachelor's degree. And this was like, 25, 30 years ago. She kept working, and she got her ministerial credential. She got her master's, and now she's got her doctorate. And she's a full-blooded Indian lady. And she's just an awesome being who loves people, who came to us because she cared about the humanity. So then anyway, we have the bachelor's of spiritual studies, the bachelor's of religious studies. We have the master's degree. Now the master's takes only 30 semester units of credit. I've tailored all of these semester units similar to the secular. See, I have a PhD, as a secular PhD that I had to work my butt off and spend thousands of dollars. And I'll tell you, our doctorate of religious studies far out overseas as far as the doctorate I went through to get mine. And the only reason I got the secular doctorate was because I was a school superintendent. And when you deal with Sacramento, they wouldn't even talk to you unless you had a doctorate, for gosh sakes. So it was one of those things that we had to do. But anyway, so we have the master's. It's 30 semester units for the master's. And we can't count credit that's already been counted for the bachelor's. But those 30, and to become a minister, now here's if a person comes and says, I want to work on my master's degree. Well, it takes 30 semester units. I said, have you ever thought of becoming a practitioner of religious science or a minister of religious science? You have to be the practitioner first. Unless you're Unity, then you don't need the internship, but you'd still need the classes. And we can double dip you. In other words, you can be working on your master's and end up with a credential. Wouldn't that be kind of cool? And they always say, oh, yes, that would be really wonderful. Yes. I would like to do that. See, so, and anyway, then we have the doctorate's a little bit more heavy duty. We require 60 semester units of credit. That's pretty typical in the secular as well. The difference is in the secular, when you're working on a doctorate, depending on the school you go through, a lot of it is just, it's research and writing and all that. With our doctorate, we want to do a lot of that. So we require professional papers, but we also want them to be putting into play some work as far as working with people out in the field. So we give credit for that. And we also have classes. We have 160 classes that we've written that are correspondence in nature. Now, we don't brag about correspondence because that's not the most awesome way to learn anything. I always tell people, if you have a chance to join our Emerson enroll. And then we've got 60 centers out there, and we even will accept CSL and all the other organizations if you take classes. So wherever you go, you don't have to take it through correspondence.
Mm-hmm.
You can, because what I like is the dialogue between a teacher or you can do it on Zoom. We have Zoom classes as well, but we have those people who are single parents who have to work 2 jobs, and they really need to do it through correspondence. They may be too far away from a center where they can sit in and have a residential class. So we have that correspondence program as well. Plus we have about 150 classes that we've certified for that program. I think we've pretty much covered the 60 semester units is a little heavier duty, but it's still important because if you're a doctor of spiritual studies, we want you to be well-grounded. So we do testing. They deal with me, the poor people have to deal with Angelo. I love teaching New Thought. I just love it. People don't realize that I'm really a volunteer. I have been for over 30 years because I'm retired from a school system. Why do I need to charge money for my Emerson? I don't need to do that.
Well, that's what I'm living a vocation that's really an advocation. So that it's a volunteer for that. And that's a good point that you've made. So even though some people may give a frown on correspondence training or anything, you cannot frown on its efficacy or the fact that it's been meaningful to me. So I remember when I was enrolled in the program all those 20 some years ago now, I was writing curriculum weekly, monthly, teaching curriculum. So I could send in a copy of the curriculum that I had written. I could send in a copy of the courses I was taking and teaching. I had audio recordings of the presentations I was making. I sent all that into you, and we certainly have the electronic means to do that now. So to take a correspondence course now, it's more like a self-paced,
Absolutely.
self-paced study that's very much more mainstream than it was 20 years ago. So very much like some of this spiritual education and enrichment and spiritual explorers classes and other things that some of the other folks in the Unity movement and CSL and other folks are doing, that it's not all in-person training anymore. And not to mention what we're already doing virtually and will be doing virtually in the future. So there's no question that it is that it's proven in its effectiveness, and it's also designed in full support of the student, of anybody that wants to enroll in a program like this for personal development, for expanding consciousness, for just seekers and learners, people that are like me, wired to learn more, to expand myself, to grow. And it's also, I believe, I was interviewing some folks for the Walden Awards this week, and one of my takeaways was like the litmus test of how you know your life's on purpose. And that is that you are finding joy in what you're doing, that you're growing yourself through what you're doing, and that you're certain that it's benefiting others. And that was just sparked me into a new inspiration for myself. And it's absolutely what I believe about you, Dr. Angelo, that you live that out to the nth degree, and that's what Emerson Institute exists for, and is an organization for anybody who wants to find purpose and meaning and joy and expansion as they grow themselves and as they learn, and that they find a community and a collegial group to serve with and work with through the courses and classes that will serve them in whatever way they want to be in the world. And whether it's ever a formal ministry or not, there's still many, many programs and possibilities there at Emerson for anybody wanting to develop their own path and develop their consciousness and to awaken to their own divinity. So I highly encourage you. It's my path. It's one I'm proud of. It's one that I call on. And I've got many, many friends enrolled too that's doing various approaches and studies. And I encourage you all to check it out. So tell us then, Dr. Angelo, how to get in touch with you, and what they could expect on the call, like what they can expect when they reach you.
Yeah, can I add a couple of things first, or is it you can
Sure,
always
of course.
eliminate it?
Yes,
You know?
yes.
The idea of joy is wonderful. I hang my hat on it, and when persons in joy, they don't realize this. Most people don't. Maybe some of our ministers don't either. When you're in joy, you're connected to all there is. See, joy is what we call cosmic consciousness. It's the place in our conscious awareness that's free of fear, doubt, or uncertainty. When you're in joy, you're in cosmic consciousness. Isn't that cool? And I just love it when I hear the word joy. The other thing you mentioned, and I want to tell you, this gal came to me, and we look at Emerson too, what we need to do to expand and improve. This gal came to me about 2 years ago, and she wanted this personal growth. And I said, I'll be your mentor. And she says, I can't go to classes. I'm working a couple of jobs. And she says, can we do it on the phone? I said, absolutely. So every Wednesday at 3, we've been together for 2 years now. Anyway, she decided, I've got a master's and a bachelor's. She says, I would like to work on my doctorate of spiritual studies. And I said, that's cool. She said, what do you have in mind on that? We actually will personalize an education based on what the needs of that person is, the student. She says, well, I'm a vegan. I'm an animal rights person. And she says, so I'd like to start taking classes and get my doctorate in spiritual studies, how all species of animals are one with God. I says, that's cool. Now, let me tell you what our needs are. We don't have much on veganism. We don't have one class on what that's all about. We don't have any classes having to do with the species of animals necessarily. I says, how would you like to work on your doctorate by writing classes as if you're taking those classes, but you'll be creating them, and we'll give you credit as if you were taking the class that you will be creating. So you'll get credit not only for being the student of that class, but you'll get credit for being the author of the class. She said, I would love that. So we've come out with a whole series now, and she's involved now with doing that, and it's kind of cool. Anyway, now you said how to come to us or come to Angelo.
Absolutely. And what they can expect, how to call you, how to contact you. And I'll put that in the description here on the recording also, but I want it on the audio recording.
Yeah, I'll have to do my cell phone because I'm not at the office at the regular phone. So anyway, if can I do that? Or
yes, of course. Yeah.
My cell phone is 559-658-1433. And what I tell people, even if you're not taking classes or you're not working on a program, if anything you need to talk to this old guy about, you can call me. It's okay, But once you join our spiritual family, we're there with you. It'll be for eternity. I don't want to depress you. Anyway, and then the mailing address is P.O. Box 2127, Oakhurst, California, 93644. I'll repeat, P.O. Box 2127, Oakhurst, 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 California, 93644. The email is kind of cool. It's just my last name. It's P as in Paul, IZELO, 1 Z and 1 L, at S as in Sam, T as in Tom, net, .net. It's STI.net. Sierra Tel Internet is what it stands for. STI.net.
So you have Dr. Angelo Pizelo's cell phone number to contact him to explore how this could serve you. You also have the email address for him, pizelo@sti.net.
It's emersoninstitute.edu.
Okay.
The edu stands for education. Because we're accredited, we get the edu domain. Yeah.
Great. So emersoninstitute.edu, and you can learn all about the specifics about the classes, degrees, programs, enrollments, administration. All the contact information is there too, as well as some more detail than we've been able to bring forth here. And reminding you that you do not have to be close to Oakland or Oakhurst, California to do this, that it's available online, and they'll contact you directly If you go through the website and ask for a contact, they'll be directly in touch with you to follow up in that way too. So Godspeed as you go. Dr. Angelo, thank you again. I cannot express my love for you. Is inexpressible. It is so deep and so profound. And I know that this conversation today has put a pebble in the water of humanity and waves that'll go out further than I or you will ever see. And that is what it's intended for. And any of you listening that have any calling whatsoever to explore your divine nature, who you are, and what is true about you, Emerson Institute is your doorway, your portal to a new beginning for yourself. And I highly, highly encourage it. And Godspeed to you, Dr. Angelo, and to Dr. Stella. Thank you very much. Give my love to her. And any of you that want to get in touch with me, it's marthacreek.com for more specifics about my path or what Emerson has meant to me, or how I can support you in serving the world in a way that has meaning for you. That's what we're about here. Anything in closing, Dr. Angie?
No, much love to you. And by the way, I said you have to be the message. You exemplify our vision that you are the message of love, because it's love only. Once we're unified, we know that, and we identify ourselves with that creative life force that we call God. You are love only, because that's what it is. God bless you.
Thank you, honey. True for you too. Take care of you.
Bye-bye.
marthacreek.com if I can support you. Blessings.